Hi there and welcome back to Press Ups. I'm far from running daily updates at the moment, but recording occasional screencasts as and when I can and when I have reason to do so. Today we're going to look at something that's a really common request that I get, and that is how can you create and manage users on your website. So some websites are set up with just a single admin user, and this is a really bad idea because you should have as few admin users as possible. As admin users, if they get hacked into, they are the kind of users that can do anything on your site. So if they get hacked into, then whoever's hacked in can then do whatever they want on your site. They can install software, they can run malicious code and do all sorts of things. So that probably sounds a bit scary. It should be a little bit scary because you need to defend yourself against it. So making use of users is a really good thing, and you can actually create multiple users. You don't have to share user accounts between people. Each person that has access to your website should have their own user account, and you can create and manage those as an administrator right inside the WordPress dashboard. So if you have permissions to do this, you can go to the users section here, and that will bring up a list of your users, and you'll see I've got my admin user here who has this email address and has an administrator role, so they can do anything. And then I also have a demo user, and this demo user has a different email address and just has an editor role, and I'll explain about the different roles in a moment. What we're going to do first is just add a new user and look at the options that a new user has. So let's say a new member of staff has arrived at your organization, or an existing member of staff needs access to the website. Then you can click add new in here, and then you need to fill in some details for them. So let's give them a username, and we'll give them an email address, and we'll give them a first name and a last name. You'll see that the username and email are the only required fields, but the other fields are convenient to add in as well. Website in particular isn't really necessarily needed. You can show the password here if you want to, and you can set your own password, but WordPress will generate a strong and secure password, and it will send a notification email to the user with their login details. So that's really good. And here is the role thing. So here you can choose a role for your new user. Subscribers don't really have any permissions at all. They can log in, but they can't really do anything. They can only still view the content on your website. Contributors can create new content, but they aren't allowed to publish their own content. So they can create a post, but somebody has to come along and review it and publish it for them. Authors can create their own content, and they are also allowed to publish their own content as well, but they and contributors cannot edit other people's content or publish other people's content. Editors can create their own content, and they can also go and edit content that other people have created. So if you have contributors and authors, editors can go and review and change the content that your contributors and authors have created. But editors can also create and modify their own content too. Editors don't have any administrative access, so they can't change the theme or the settings of the site. They can't add or change plugins or anything like that. Administrator accounts, however, right at the bottom, these are all powerful, and as I've said, administrators can add plugins and potentially edit code or change the theme and do all sorts of things, as well as edit and add and manage all the different kinds of content that are in the system. Now, depending on how your site is set up, you may have additional user roles in here. I can't explain what those are without knowing what roles have been added, but some plugins or some themes may add additional roles in here for you to select from. So I'm going to create this person as an author. So that means that they can create and publish their own posts, but they can't modify other people's content or take any administrative actions. And I'll tap add new user, and we'll see that that user is now created in the system. Now let's say we want to change that person's details or change their role or even delete them. So I can delete them from here. Because I've got an Events Manager plugin installed, I've got bookings, but you won't necessarily see that. And you won't necessarily see Switch To. That is also created by a plugin that allows me to become other users on my system. So you'll normally just see edit and delete. So if I wanted to remove Fred's access entirely, I can click delete and he will disappear from the system. But if I want to change any of his details, I can go and edit them. And you'll see when I edit, there are some additional options than when I create. So I can disable the visual editor. You may not know this, but you can choose from different color schemes. So I can set that user's color scheme. I can enable keyboard shortcuts for comment moderation. I can choose to turn this toolbar at the top on and off for that user. I can change their language that they see the dashboard in. And then there's a few other things here that I can change. I can change all their usual email details and their role and their name. This is an interesting one. So you can set, as well as a first name and last name, you can set a nickname, and you can also choose to display this person's name in a particular way on the front end of the website. That is a bit dependent on the theme doing the right thing, but can be useful if you just want to display a first name or a last name or a particular combination, or you can even change their nickname and then select their nickname from here. So we might change this to be editor, and then editor appears in that list. So I can actually choose which name appears, and that can be useful. You can add biographical information. The profile picture is normally taken from a thing called Gravatar. I won't go into that here, but if the user has a Gravatar set up on the Gravatar service, then their profile picture will appear here. And there are plugins which allow you to upload your own profile pictures as well. And WordPress have really tried to encourage the use of strong passwords here. So if you want to set a new password for the user, you can go in and reset it for them here, and you can update that for them there. And then you can send this new password to them, but do encourage the user to change their password when they log back in, because it's a bad idea to send passwords in emails which can be intercepted potentially. Also, if a user forgets their password or wants a new password set, it's always worth remembering that when you are logged out, you can go to the login screen and request a new password by typing your email address or your username in. So let's just see that in action. If I log out of here, we'll leave the edit screen. And then if you've lost your password, there's usually this link here. You can input your username or email address, and it will send you an email with the password reset instructions. So users, if they forget their password, they don't need an administrator to set or create them a new password. They can go through this process entirely by themselves. So hopefully that's a useful overview of users. I really encourage you to make use of the fact that you can have multiple users on your website and not share user accounts and passwords between people. Make sure that everybody has their own account. That means that as staff or contributors come into your organization or leave and require to have their access removed, you can manage all of that from within the WordPress dashboard without having to worry too much about who has access to what. So it's a really useful feature. Do make use of it.